This video is going to cover pre-algebra adding and subtracting integers. Taking a negative number and adding it to a positive, a negative number adding it to a negative, and subtracting those values. And then at the end, I think we mix it up a little bit. Throwing negatives and positives and negatives and adding and subtracting them. One of the things that you have to understand on this is there's times where you're going to be going backwards on the number line and then adding, a positive number, and you have to figure out where you're at on the number line to get the right value. So let's start with number 1. It's saying negative 12 plus 7. I want to rewrite it real quick just so you can kind of take that negative 12 out of the parentheses. So you can rewrite this as negative 12 plus 7. It reads the same way. The only difference is that parenthesis, if there's no value, or I'm sorry, no sign in front of the parenthesis, then the value that comes out of the parenthesis is the value that is inside the parenthesis, meaning because there's no value in front of the parenthesis, it's positive. A positive and a negative makes a negative. That's why we're able to leave the expression on the right side, negative 12 plus 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot this on the number line and find what our value for negative 12 plus 7 is. So we're always going to start with the value given. So in this case, it's at negative 12 is where we're going to start. And then it tells us plus 7. So this side is the positive side, and this is the negative side, or the negative direction, the positive direction. So from the negative 12, we're going to go in the positive direction because it says plus 7. Positive direction 7 places. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And where we end up at is negative 5. And that's how you get the value for that using the number line method. I'm going to do a football example on number 20, and hopefully it'll make sense, and then I'm going to do a different method for number 3, and then we'll try different methods as we go along. So number 2, we'll do the football method. So think of starting on the 50-yard line, where going forward towards the end zone is the positive direction and going back is the negative direction. So let's say that you're on the 50-yard line here and you go back 10 yards. So in the negative direction 10 yards. And from that point you go back another 7 yards. Well, where do you end up total? The total distance here then is negative 17. All we did was add the total yardage from the 50-yard line back 10 and then back 7 more, giving us a total of negative 17 for number 2. Okay, number 3. I'm going to do the money example on this one. So let's say that you owe somebody $6 and then you are given $12. So what you're going to do is pay the $6 to your friend and leaves you with $6. It's really hard to write stuff like this just because it is more verbal than a written expression. I will do my best. Let's say you have a buddy and you owe him $6, so it's minus 6. And you're here, okay, and somebody gives you $12. Well, what you're going to do is give him that $6, so that means that's minus 6 from you, and what ends up with this positive 12 ends up being a positive 6. So you end up having $6 left on that. Okay, number 4, 8 plus 7, 15. I think we know how to do those. Number 5, 3 plus 4 is 7. Number 6, negative 45 plus 9. This might be easier to do the the number line method. You really have to be able to understand the concept of what's going on, and it's really hard to do it through a video. So try and imagine it or ask your tutor how to do that. But negative 45 plus 9. So think of starting on the number line, negative 45, and then moving in the positive direction 9 places. What you end up with is negative 36. Okay, number 7. Negative 1 plus negative 46. So what you're going to do on this now, because you have two signs, a positive and a negative next to each other, you have to rewrite that. So again, the -1, there's no sign in front, so it's positive, so we can take that out of the parentheses. And then you have this plus minus. A positive and a negative makes a negative, and then you put your number, 46. -1 minus 46 is -47. Okay, number 8. -30 plus 10. Again, we can take that -30 out of the parentheses and then put that plus 10. What we end up with -30 plus 10 is -20. Okay, number 9. -34 plus 50. Let me actually do a different method on this one that maybe makes a little bit of sense. You can actually move and switch these numbers as long as you take the signs with it. So what I mean by that is you can swap the plus 50 and the minus 34 as long as you keep the signs with it. So this ends up becoming 50, and then we're moving that -34, -34, and what you end up with is 50 minus 34, which ends up equaling 16. Okay, number 10. 38 plus -5. So what do we do for that? We keep the 38. That's not going to change. And then we have a positive and a negative, a plus minus. That ends up becoming a negative or a minus 5. We end up getting 38 minus 5, which is 33. Okay, those were all using addition. Now 11 through 20, we're going to be doing subtraction or finding the difference. Same method, same concept, just subtracting instead of adding. So let's do this. Number 11, 2 minus -2. Well, what we end up with on that is we keep that 2 in the front, and a negative is a positive, and we get a 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Number 12, -1 minus 10. Again, like we did, I think it was number 2, where we had two negatives. You lose 1 yard and you lose 10 more yards. You end up losing a total of 11 yards. -11. 8 minus 7 is 1. Number 14. -8 minus -6. So that -8 is going to stay -8, because you can assume that in front of the parenthesis there's a positive sign, and a positive and a negative makes a negative. So we end up with -8, a minus and a minus becomes a positive 6. So in that you end up getting -2. Okay, number 15. 11 minus 4 is 7. Number 16, 48 minus -31. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. 48 remains, and you have, minus and a minus becomes a positive 31, and what we end up getting on this is 79. Okay, number 17, 18 minus 41. What we can do on this one, because they're different signs, meaning the 18 is a positive and the 41 is a negative, because they're different signs, you can find the difference between the two first, and then add the sign onto that value of the bigger of the two, 18 or 41. Let me explain that. So let's subtract 41 minus 18 is 23. Okay, we end up getting 23 as the difference. Now, between the 18 and the 41 is a bigger number. So we take the sign of the 41 and add that onto the value that we get for this, which is 23. Now, I'm not going to put equals. I'm going to actually erase that equals, because technically that doesn't equal 41 minus 18. So I'm just going to erase that. But anyway, you end up getting -23. I'll do the same method for number 18. So you end up getting -38 minus 30. Because they're the same sign, you're going to add them and put the sign of both onto the value you get. So 38 plus 30 is 68. And the reason we're adding them is because they're both the same sign. So we take the sign and we put that on that value. Okay, number 19. I'll do the same method for the rest of this worksheet. -1 minus -3. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. -1, a minus and a minus becomes a positive, 3. Because they're different signs, find the difference between 1 and 3. The difference is 2. Between the 1 and the 3 is the bigger number, and it has a positive sign, so we put a positive 2. So -1 minus -3 equals -1 plus 3, which equals positive 2. Number 20. -1 minus and minus becomes a positive, 40. They're different signs, meaning that 1 is a negative and the 40 is a positive. So what you want to do is find the difference between the two, which is 39. Because the 40 is a bigger number than 1, the 40 has a positive sign, so this becomes positive 39. Okay, let's do the same method with 21. -10 minus 47. Because they're the same sign, we're going to add them and put that sign with that value. So -10 minus 47 is 57. They're both negative, so we're going to put a negative. Number 22. Same sign, -29 minus 29. They're both negative, so we're going to go ahead and add them, which we end up getting 58. And because they're both negative, we're going to put a negative sign, -58. Okay, number 23. 13 plus -29. So we're going to rewrite that. 13, a positive and a negative makes a negative, 29. You want to find the difference between 13 and 29, and the difference is 16. The 13 is less than 29, the 29 is bigger, so we take the sign of the bigger number and put that in front of our answer. In this case, it's a negative, so minus 16. Number 24, 38 plus 22. Just add those up because they're the same sign, so we end up getting 60. And because they're both positive, you just put a positive 60. Okay, number 25. -32 minus 44. Again, they're the same sign, so we're going to go ahead and add them. So we end up getting 76. A negative and a negative on both of them, so our sign on this is negative. Number 26. -12 plus -11. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. So we get -12, a plus and a minus makes a negative, 11. Because we have the same sign, we're going to add them and put that sign on our answer. So 12 plus 11 is 23. Negative and a negative, so this becomes negative. Number 27. 2 plus 15 plus 4. So let's just work them in pieces. So we do the 2 and the 15. We end up getting 17. Bring down that plus 4. 17 plus 4 is 21. Okay, number 28. 16 plus -13 plus 5. So let's deal with the 16 and the 13. So we get 16, a plus and a minus becomes minus 13 plus 5. 16 minus 13 is 3. Bring down that plus 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay, 29. 2 minus -9 minus 8. So let's rewrite that as 2, a negative and a negative is a positive, 9 minus 8. 2 plus 9 is 11. Bring down that minus 8. We end up getting 3. Number 30. 10 plus 3 minus -8. So we go ahead and let's go ahead and rewrite it first. 10 plus 3, a minus and a minus becomes positive 8. 10 plus 3 is 13 plus 8. 13 plus 8 is 21. And this is adding and subtracting integers.